Daf Dalet Amud Aleph will begin Gimel Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. We learned previously that Abaye said, in the name of Rav Nachman, that we have an Amma, there's an Amma of 5 Tvachim, there's an Amma of 6 Tvachim. L'gabe Sukkah and Mavoi, so we go L'chumra, and we use a smaller Amma, the Amma of 5 Tvachim, when we talk about the heights of the Mavoi, the heights of the Sukkah. When we talk about the halachas of Kilayim, we talk about the open areas and the halachas of Kilayim, the Karachas HaKerem, the Chol HaKerem. Also we go to Chumrah, so there the Chumrah is using the larger Amma, so it's an Amma of 6 Tvachim. Now Rava has a different version of Rav Nachman. The Rava Shmei Rav Nachman Amma, no. Kol Amma is Shisha. There's no difference, it's not 5 or 6. All of the Ammas are made up of 6 Tvachim. What's the difference though? El Halalo, Seichlikais, these are ones which are literally smiling. They're a little bit wider. And these ones are like sad, meaning someone is smiling, he has his mouth is open wider. Someone who is sad, he's like frowning, it's tighter. They're both Ammas of 6 Tvachim. But we go l'chumrah. So therefore we say legabe the halacha of Mavoi and the Gabe, the halacha of Sukkah, when we want to say the Chumrah is to have something that's smaller, that's not so high, we use the ones which are atzeves, which are the ones which are tighter. When we talk about the Kilayim, we also have to the Chumrah. It's also an Amma of 6 Tvachim, but it's the ones which are literally smiling, meaning they're looser, which the Rishonim calculate there's a difference about 2%, approximately 2% variance between them. So that's the way Rava learns it. It's not a difference between 5 or 6 Tvachim. They're all 6 Tvachim. It's just if they're looser or tighter. Meisvel, I'll ask you a kasha. So this is a kasha on a bias version that says that there's a difference if there's 5 or 6, whether there's 5 or 6. The Brisa says, Kol Amma Shamar Chacham Amma Bas Shisha. He said the Chacham, all of the Ammas are made up of 6 Tvachim. So before you see clearly, like Rava, not like Abaye. Ubilvad, but their difference is they shouldn't be exactly the same. So Bishlama Rava, according to Rava, so we understand that they're all made up an Amma of 6 Tvachim, but they're not all the same, meaning they're all made up an Amma of 6 Tvachim, but they're not exactly the same, because in the Kalayim it is the ones which are looser, and Sukkah Mover the tighter. Kasha, but according to Abaye, there's a kasha because you see that they're all made up of an Amma of 6 Tvachim, and Abaye says that the ones in Mavoi Sukkah are made up of 5 Tvachim. Abaye will answer, Ema Ammas Kilayim B'Ammas Bas Shisha. No, it doesn't mean all the Ammas. It doesn't mean the Ammas of Sukkah and Mavoi. It means the Ammas are mentioned in regard to Kilayim. Specifically in Kilayim, they are made up of 6 Tvachim. I frag the Gemara of Amriktani Seifa. The Seifa of the Brisa says, or Shemin Gamliel Omer, he says, Kol Amma Shamar Chacham B'Kilayim B'Amma Bas Shisha. He said all the Ammas that were mentioned in reference to Kilayim are made up of 6 Tvachim Uvilvad Shelo Yu Mitzvim Tzomos, but they should not be exact. They should not be precise. Meaning they should be loose, not tight. They should be loose Tvachim, not tight ones. Michlal, the Tanakama, Kol Ammas Komer. It must be the Tanakama is talking about all the Ammas, not specifically Kilayim. Rav Shimon Gamliel is talking specifically about Kilayim. Must be the Tanakama is talking about items besides Kilayim, other halachas, meaning like Mavoi and Sukkah. Omar Allah Abaye, Abaye said, no, well, tell you no. Yes, that's correct. Your diuk is correct. And the Tanakama holds that way, but you see that Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is not saying that. You see, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says it's specifically by Kilayim where the Amma is made up of 6 Tvachim. So you see that this is the sheet of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. I know Damrek of Shimon Gamliel. So yes, the Tanakama says differently, but Rabbi says that when I said my version of Rav Nachman, Rav Nachman was going like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. So, who clearly differentiates between Kilayim and other halachas, and therefore he explains that by Sukkah and Mavoi, the Amma is bas 5 Tvachim, And in the case of kilayim, it's specific kilayim where it's shisha 6 tvachim. So the Gemara says, so we see over here the way Abaya understands it. It's clearly a machlekes tanoim between the Tanna Kamma and Gamliel. But according to Rava, do we have to say it's a machlekes tanoim? The Gemara says no. Rava will say, Rav Shimon Gamliel ha'asalash minan amas kilayim lo yitzamtzem. Now, Rava will say, I'll tell you it's not a machlekes tanoim. And Rav Shimon Gamliel also agrees that by Sukkah Move it's made out an amma of 6 tvachim, but he wants to tell you that by Kilayim lo yitzamtzem, that it should be loose tvachim by the case of the amma in reference to Kilayim. In Kilayim, it should be made it should be loose and not tight, and we have to be machmir by Kilayim. More well, if that's the case, Rav Shimon Gamliel agrees that all of the amas are bal shisha, and he's only telling me that by kilayim it has to be loose and not tight. But let him say rather amas kilayim lo yitzamtzem. He should simply say that the amma of kilayim lo yitzamtzem, it should not be tight. Va'ama bas shisha lemutimai. Why is he telling me an amma of 6? If he's agreeing with the Tanna Kamma that all of the ammas are 6, why does he have to reiterate by kilayim and say kilayim is an amma by shisha, but bilvash lo yitzamtzem? You should just say that ammas kilayim lo yitzamtzem. Pamas bas shisha limutimai lav miutama sukkah v'amas mavli. If he's saying that the amma of kilayim is 6, it must be that he wants to tell us that by kilayim it's made out of 6 tvachim, but there are other cases where it's not. Isn't that coming to exclude sukkah and movi, where it's 5 tvachim, not 6 tvachim, versus light? Now, really, I'll tell you, and it's like Rav Nachman is saying, that they all agree that by sukkah, by movi, and by kilayim, in all of those cases, the amma is bal shisha, is made up of 6 tvachim. And the difference is that by kilayim it should be loose, and the other cases should be tight. Why is he saying, Rav Shimon Gamliel, that by kilayim it's amas by shisha? Yes, there is another case where the amma is not made out of 6; it's made out of 5 tvachim, but not sukkah and movi. What is it coming to exclude? Loidli mute amas yisoid of amas soivev. It's coming to exclude the amma of the base of the mizbeach and the soivev and the area around it, the ledge of the mizbeach, which we'll demonstrate in a minute. So, but the basis of it is, and how do we know that these areas, the amma is different? Because the pasuk in Yecheskel says, these are the dimensions of the mizbeach. But amma is amma v'teifach. They're made up of ammas, which are an amma v'teifach, which an amma, which you would have to take this amma and add on a tefach to equate to a standard amma. A standard amma is made out of 6 tvachim. It's made up of 6 tvachim. These ammas that we're talking about over here, with the dimension of the mizbeach, you need an amma v'teifach, you need an amma and a tefach to equate to a standard amma of 6 tvachim, meaning that these ammas are ammas of 5 tvachim. They're ammas of 5 tvachim, which require an extra tefach to equate to a standard amma. What are these areas? It says v'cheika amma of amaroich. It says it's the base and an amma of the width. Ugvul also saviv zeras ha'echan, and the border to the edge should be a half an amma, should be a zeras. V'zeh gav mizbeach, and this is the top of the mizbeach. So how is that? What is it referring to? So when it says cheika amma, that's referring to the yisoid. So it's referring to the yisoid. Cheika amma is the yisoid. To demonstrate, the mizbeach was wider at the base. So it was wider at the base. It extended out from the base. You can see a ledge here. That's the foundation. Now it extended out. This had a height from the ground. The thickness of this was an amma. The height of this ledge from the ground, the height of this ledge was an amma of 5 tefachim. So that was the first area where you had the foundation. So the Mizbeach was on the thickness of this foundation was an amma. Now, therefore, from the ground, it went up an amma. This amma of the height of it was, it was made up of 5 tefachim, not 6 tefachim, 5 tefachim. So, this foundation here, then the Mizbeach was continued up. This was a amma high of 5 tefachim. Then it says, the Gemara, it continues. So, it says, the Chekam is a Yesayid. V'ama Reichem is a Soviv. It had an Amma Reichem, which was a Soviv. So, the Mizbeach continued up. It went up now for 5 tefachim. And so, with the side was 1 tefach high. Then, the Mizbeach, it continued. It went up. Rather, we'll do it this way. So, continued up, and then so it went up 5 tefachim from the foundation. It went up another 5 tefachim high, and then there was an indent over here. It was indented. It was indented over here. And all around the Mizbeach, there was this ledge. That's the Soviv, where one could walk all around the Mizbeach. Now, this over here, this indentation was an amma. This indentation was an amma. It was an amma, again, made up of 5 tefachim. So this was made up of an amma of 5 tefachim. So that's what it's referring to, the amma. The amma 5 tefachim, it's the height of the foundation of the Yesod. Then it's the width over here of the Soviv. It's a Soviv. Then the Gemara continues, Ugvula el Sfosa Soviv el Kronos. And this refers, the Gvula Sfosa Soviv is referring to the Karen, the Kronos Mizbeach. And that's referring to the Mizbeach Hazav. It's Mizbeach Hazav that was in the Heichel. So what are the Kronos? On the top of the Mizbeach, you had a Karen. There was a horn. I don't know if you can see it here. Assume that this is the top of the Mizbeach. On the top of the Mizbeach, you had on each corner, this is the top of the Mizbeach, you had on each corner, you had a Karen. The Karen was an amma by an amma. So when the Pasuk says, Agvula Saviv Zeres Ha'echad, Zeres is a half an amma. So each one is an amma, which means it's an amma by an amma. That means it's from the midpoint, it'll be a half an amma on each side. So that's why it calls it a zeretz. From the midpoint, there'll be a half an amma on each side. So again, this is referring to the Karen. This also, it's an amma by an amma. It's an amma of 5 tefachim. So that's what it's referring to. It's not referring to, according to Rav, it's not referring to Sukkah and Mavoi. It's referring to these dimensions of the Mizbeach. So to Gemara weiter, Amar Rechia Bar Ashi Amara v'Shiurim Chatzitzin Umechitzin Halach LaMoshe Misinai. When we talk about shiurim, different measurements, negate to different halachas, which we'll see, and chatzitzin, a chatzitza, person is toivel, he can't have anything that interposes between him and the water. Umechitzin, the laws of mechitzas, of partitions, these are halach l'moshe misinai. They're not mefurish in the Torah. Frank the Gemara, what do you mean? Shiurim deraisu. Shiurim we learn out from a beferish pasuk, because the pasuk says in praise of Eretz Yisrael, it says that Eretz Yisrael is a land of tziv eretz chita sa'ira. It's a land of wheat and barley. And the pasuk continues, and it talks about the shivas aminim. V'amar Rav Chanan kol pasuk hazeh l'shiur nema. All these items mentioned in the pasuk, they're negeya to different measurements, to different shiur. What is that? Chita mentions wheat. What's it negay? What halach is it legabe chita? We learned in the Mishnah. Nichnas lebeis hamenuga. If a person goes into a house with his saras, the kelav al kseifa v'sandal v'tavois v'yoro, and he is not wearing these items. He has clothing on his shoulder. He has shoes or sandalim and rings that he's carrying. He's not wearing them. Then hu v'hem tzmei miyad. Then both him and these items are tummy immediately, as soon as he comes into the house. But hayalovish kelov, if he was wearing them, the sandala beraglav v'tavoisa bes boisov, and he had the clothes that he's wearing, the shoes on his feet, the ring on his finger, then hu tummy miyad, he is tummy immediately. But v'hein tahirin achiyisha b'chnei achilas pras, but they are tor unless he stays there the time that it takes a achilas pras, the amount of bread that normally one would eat in a meal. It's not toma unless he remains in the house. The pasuk says, legabe, a person coming to the house, it says if a person eats in the house. Now, a person is tome even if he doesn't eat in the house. Why does it say a person that he eats in the house? To tell you that these items, that if he's wearing them, they're not tame unless he remains in the house a length of time that it takes to eat the standard meal. What type of meal are we talking about? So it says, therefore, it says chita, it says wheat. So until he remains in the house, the time it takes a half a loaf of bread, which is a standard meal, which Rashi says is 4 eggs. What type of meal? That's paschitim loy pasarim. To eat bread made out of wheat, which Rashi explains, which is eaten quicker than, so it's a lesser amount of time than it would take to eat barley. Wheat is more tasty, and therefore a person would eat it faster. And also mesa v'oichabeliften, it's when he's comfortable, he's reclining, and he eats it with a relish or a dip or a spread, something that, if he eats bread with butter, he eats it faster than if he doesn't have a spread on it. So that's the chita to tell you the amount of time that a person has to remain in the house in order for these items to become tummy. Chita, so that's the shear for Beis HaMenuga. Saira, what's the shear involved with barley? This non-etzem kesaira, a bone from a mess, from a human. Etzem to the sides of a barley seed, metam v'magav v'masa. It will be matama person if he touches it or if he carries it. Ve'in matama b'oil, but it is not matama b'oil with just being under the same roof as that item. Geffen, what's the shear involved with geffen, with the grapevine? Kadei revius yain l'nozer. The amount of wine, so Rashi's pshat is the amount of wine that if a nozer drinks it, if he drinks a revius of wine, he gets malchus. A nozer is not allowed to drink wine. What is the shear that he's chayiv malchus for? It's a revius of yain. There's a different pshat. He says it's the amount of grapes, or the grape shoots, that if a person eats it, the nozer eats it, he's chayiv malchus. It's the amount that would displace a revius of yain. That amount of the solid item that would displace a revius of yain, then he's chayiv malchus for that. And we'll continue with the shiurim on the next Amud.